Hey guys, what is going on? Lego Man wants to, and welcome back to another video. And today I'll be doing something a little bit different, but I'm really excited to do this type of video. And while coming up with this idea, I did search on YouTube if any other Lego YouTuber or Ninjago YouTuber had done a type of video like this. And the thing I was surprised about is that no one has done a video on Lego Ninjago world building. So without further ado, let's get into it. There's already so much world building because instead of just being stuck in one location for the whole entire Ninjago series or season, they have different realms. So, for instance, in Season 5, they go to Cloud City, as well as the Departed Realm when it comes to them in Season 5. And then they also have the Nether Realm in Season 11, the Ice Chapter. So already there's just so much world building with all these different realms instead of just being stuck in the one location. So I'll first start with what we already know about Ninjago, and we know that there are 16 realms, and I believe we only know officially 8 of them so far, and already that is some really incredible world building. And what I find most interesting is that each of the realms so far have their own stories and lore, because it was really interesting just to see all the different realms and how they operate with like their different sort of storytelling of like how the realm was created and all that, like what it's based on, and then the lore, like each of them do have their different sort of stories and rules in a way, or morals. So I really love how Lego or the team at Ninjago have gone above and beyond for each of these realms to have just their own story instead of just being the one realm, like just a very boring story in each of the realms. I really love how they've put time and effort into coming up with the story and lore for each of the realms. And finishing off with the 16 realms, or the 8 we know of, I really love how each of them are different, so not all the realms are the same. So I really love how each of them have their own different sort of stories and ideas. So I'm really glad Lego have actually come up with these realms, because it shows, or Ninjago I should say, have come up with these realms just to demonstrate how big the world of Ninjago is, and it's not in like this small area of the island of Ninjago. So I really love how they've gone quite big, and it really does demonstrate that Ninjago can sort of experiment with using multiple realms instead of just being stuck in the one location. Next, we have the Ninjago language, and what I find most interesting about this is that when watching the show, they speak in English or Mandarin, depending on where you do live around the world. However, in the background of the different episodes on buildings or shops, they actually have made their own language for this TV show, and I find that just really interesting because not many TV shows have that type of world building where they have their own language within the world of, say for instance, Ninjago. The characters in Ninjago may not speak this language, but it just demonstrates how much of a world Ninjago is, because instead of just having everything in English or, say, Mandarin, depending on you do live, again, I really appreciate the amount of time the Lego or Ninjago company have put into coming up with this type of language, because it would have been really hard to come up with like different symbols to represent the different letters, and it just demonstrates how much of a world Ninjago. And this idea of the Ninjago language can expand rapidly, because for instance, when we do get to hear about the other 8 realms we haven't heard of yet, it can very easily expand the idea of world building with just multiple languages. Instead of just having the Ninjago language within the Ninjago city, it can spread across multiple realms, having their own languages, and it just demonstrates how much of a world Ninjago is and how incredible the world building is. And the final topic for today's video is the history of Ninjago, and I must say, the amount of history within Ninjago is just incredible, because across the different seasons, because I think there's like 300 or something episodes, it's just wow, the amount of history within Ninjago is incredible. Now, I did put some dot points down of the most significant events in the history of Ninjago, but there is just so much history within the world of Ninjago, and even the realms as well. They have their own stories and their history. So, one of the main ones, I think, for Ninjago for its history is the first Spinjitzu Master, because we get introduced to him straight away in Season 1, The Rise of the Serpentine, when his son, Master Wu, is explaining about, like, the golden weapons, and he's the reason why Ninjago is the thing, because he did create it. So, already, there's just so much with the first Spinjitzu Master that we've learned, and just spread across the different seasons, we just learned so much about him and his character. And he is mentioned in flashbacks or when characters are talking to one another within the different seasons of Ninjago, and that already does expand the history of him, because we just learn so much about him, and it's just really incredible, because instead of just having a boring plain character like he just created Ninjago and like that was it, I really love the amount of detailing we learned about him and his story. Then the next major event in the history of Ninjago would probably be the Overlord, because he's one of the biggest bad guys and probably like one of the most evilest bad guys within the world of Ninjago, and I really love his backstory. We do get in some flashbacks within the seasons of Ninjago, and I just really appreciate how we learn about his story instead of just being like just an ordinary villain or he's a bad guy so he's got to do bad things. I really appreciate how like they've sort of built this history and like this idea of the Overlord. Then another major event within the history of Ninjago is the Oni and Dragon, and we mostly learn about them in Season 8 when Mystique is talking to Lloyd and Jay about the Oni and Dragon and how they have their own realm. So already we've just learned so much about them, how they're Oni and Dragon and they live in a separate realm to Ninjago. However, one of the major things that I pointed out from the Oni and Dragon is that the first Ninjitsu Master is part Oni and Dragon, so destruction and creation, and that already is some really incredible world building, because when the first Ninjitsu Master does have his two sons, Garmadon and Wu, one is destruction and the other one is creation, and without the idea of the Oni and Dragon, we really wouldn't know that, and we really wouldn't understand that one is evil and bad. So I really appreciate how they've come up with this idea to explain how the first Spinjitzu Master did create Ninjago, or even was born, because without this story, we'd be just questioning Ninjago, like, wait, how did this person come to life if he doesn't have any parents and all? And like, how can he create something this big and like the golden weapons? So I really appreciate how Lego or Ninjago did create this really, really big and incredible idea or story on the Oni and Dragon. And it just demonstrates the amount of world building they have done. Then, the final major event in the history of Ninjago is the Serpentine War, and I believe this does take place within Season 4 with some flashbacks, as well as Season 7. And this idea for the history of Ninjago really did shape it, because it demonstrates the relationship between the humans within Ninjago and the snakes, and it does illustrate the ever-going war between them. And that is just some incredible world building, because instead of just having a Serpentine War what only lasts, say, for like an episode, or for instance in the world of Ninjago like a day, I really appreciate how this war has gone on for like instance for centuries, instead of just going on for like maybe a day or so. So I really appreciate how they've done that. And what I really love is the motivation for each of these sides. So for instance, the Elemental Master side and then the Serpentine side, because instead of just being like a generic battle or war, like one side is good and one side is evil, so they have to fight, I really appreciate how the world building is set around the motivations of each of the different sides. as well as being corrupted and greedy, and a very good explanation for that would probably come from Master Chen, where he wants a war to happen between the humans or the elemental masters and the snake because he's bored. And through this selfish act of betraying the elemental masters to start a war between the serpents and the elemental masters, it does demonstrate a very realistic world because there is corruption and sort of betrayal in the real world, and it very easily does demonstrate how much of a world Ninjago is and how much of an impact it does have from real world, and it is. However, apart from those major events, as I did say at the start of this idea of the history of Ninjago, there is so much more history within the world of Ninjago with the ninja and their different adventures in the seasons, and then the amount of backstory within the seasons we learn. So there is just a lot more history about Ninjago. So, hope you guys did enjoy this video because I found this really enjoyable to make, and it was definitely really exciting to make a type of video about the Ninjago world building because within the world of Ninjago, the world building is just incredible with the 16 realms, the Ninjago language, and the amount of history of Ninjago in the world, because it's just incredible to see that the world of Ninjago isn't just like this lame idea. It's not like this one realm or one location where like the minifigs are stuck or the characters are stuck. It's just this really big and pretty insane world with multiple realms, its own language, and the amount of history we learn about the world of Ninjago in the many seasons are just incredible. So I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions about this idea down in the comments below, because I was really surprised that no one else has done a video about the Ninjago world building, because I must say, for a TV show targeted towards children or maybe teens, it has so much world building in it, where I think other TV shows targeted at children or teens, as well as possibly adults, really don't have as much of a world or as much of a world building as Ninjago, and that's why I really appreciate the show. So I would definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, and as always guys, hope you guys did enjoy this video and continue. So goodbye.